Hey, good people, we back. We got part two with Jasmine and OG. The question that we sat down and brainstormed was, how do we as a black community come together to heal? And I want to hear both of their takes on how to heal. How do we heal together? And what does that look like in their minds? I'm gonna step aside and let them go and get into it.
Okay, sure. So I think a method to healing is first kind of taking some time out for yourself and just being still. I think a lot of times in our society, like people have this like fear of being alone, or they don't want to spend time with themselves, like they don't know how to be by themselves. But I think the first step to healing is learning how to be with yourself, because if you're not with yourself, you're not really coming into you're not coming into alignment with your own with who you are. A lot of times you don't realize how you're being influenced by society or the demands of, or responsibilities or obligations that you have. You're not really able to hear your own voice until you can actually be with yourself and get quiet. So I think once you take time to yourself and you start hearing your own voice and your wants and your needs, and allowing your emotions to flow and your thoughts to flow, and start dealing with stuff, because a lot of people don't want to spend time with themselves because they feel like, when I'm spending time with myself, now my mind goes racing, I'm thinking about this or I'm thinking about that, and I don't want to think about these things. But that's actually your body trying to tell you, like, hey, this thing is still here. We keep pushing it off. We keep pushing it off like it's gonna go somewhere and you could just go work, and then no, but that thing that's still bothering you, that pressing issue, is still there, and you have to heal it. So the only way to start to doing that is to spend time with yourself, and then once you spend time with yourself, you can start bringing those things to the table. Once those things come up, don't suppress it, and actually allow yourself time to feel and to think without judging what you're feeling and what you're thinking. And start practicing like positive self-talk. If you do have negative thoughts that come up when you're alone or by yourself and stuff like that, like, be gentle with yourself, be kind with yourself, be understanding to yourself. If you got things that come up from the past, or you lost somebody, or you're dealing with grief, or or abuse or anything like that, I would say in those situations, first of all, if you're dealing with abuse, like, don't let a situation that happened to you in the past define you. Right. Understand what is in your control and what is not in your control. You can never control what another person did to you, and that has no reflection on who you are. Because I think a lot of people that deal with like abuse and stuff like that, they look at it like there's something wrong with them, or it's something that I'm weak because I should have stopped it, or I should have said this, or I should have told this, or this, that, and the third. And it has nothing to do with you. Never take anything somebody else does personally. It's the person that did it to you is the person with the problem. You don't take on somebody else's problem because they assaulted you or they did something to you, because they're the one with the issue. Right. So, and that's that. So just being with yourself, allowing things to come up, not taking things personally, and going back. I think a lot of people dwell in the past and they start, they base who they are based on circumstances that happen. Like, oh, well, my mother was poor, or my father was this, or this, that, and the third. Nothing anybody has anything to do with you. Everything around you was basically like, you don't have to be a product of your environment. Right. What you have to do is realize that you are your own person, and you were simply back in the past, like you was either coping with somebody else's action, especially you talking about something that happened in childhood, which most of our traumas do happen in childhood. So it's just like, if it's something that happened in childhood, you got to give yourself grace and understand what you're responsible for. As a child, if anything happened to you before the age of 18, none of that is your responsibility. You're acting, you were reacting to the environment that you were in. Period. If things happened and my mom did this or this, that, and third, don't carry any of that with you. Like, it's not yours. Right. And the biggest deception is when you take something, of somebody else's action or what somebody else meant to be, you. So don't wear anything that's you. And when you start peeling back the layers and really sorting out what's your mess, what's this person's mess, right. You reacted to this because this person was thrown off this, that. Right. You can actually realize, like, I'm a pretty decent person. Mm-hmm. I was just trying to cope, or I had to put on this strong armor and I had to be something, else because I didn't feel secure being vulnerable, or I didn't this, that, there. So I had to put on this armor to protect myself because, out of fear of that I'd be taken advantage of for being vulnerable, or, I seen my cousin get shot, so I felt like I had to do this or that, anything like that. Like, when you realize that most of the stuff, it was you responding, trying to protect yourself, you realize, like, I'm actually good. Now, when you get to a point where now you're an adult and the past is in the past, you heal by realizing that, you know what? I dictate what today is. Today is a brand new day. I don't have to carry any of that stuff with me. I can actually re-raise myself. I can actually, okay, that's the life that my parents was able to give me. But now I'm in control of how I move from this point forward. So what type of person do I want to be? You don't have to be defined by past circumstances. And I think some of the poison in our society right now is like people, we hear repetitively in songs and stuff like that, where it's just like, I ain't never gonna change. I'm gonna always be the same OG. I'm this person, I'm this. But at the end of the day, life is about growth and elevation. You don't ever have to be the same person. You don't ever have to. You can change from 1 minute to the next. So never think that, or, what I went through made me. Yes, but to a certain degree. Right. To a certain degree. Like, you go through things, but it's not about, you don't let circumstances make you. What you do is you learn from it. It should make you wiser, Right. And it should make you like, okay, since I went through this, I should know now how to prevent certain things from transpiring and taking place, so I can move accordingly in the future. But it shouldn't change you. You should let nothing change your heart from being a good person, or change you into something destructive. Yeah. So when it comes to healing, I just think it's like, really take time to sort the things out within you, because a lot of times we have so much shame, we have so much, we abuse ourselves mentally, with a lot of stuff, calling ourselves names and stuff like that. And it's like, it's really no place for that. You know what I'm saying? It's really, God forgives you. Like, God don't see yourself. Because everybody, most of us are responding to things that are occurring to us. Most people are trying to survive and cope. So nobody's ever trying to fault you for surviving and coping, but you do have to take responsibility and accountability, so you're not doing anything destructive.
Miss Jasmine said a whole lot. You said a whole lot. Let me see if I can try to
pick a nugget.
One of the first things you have to understand also that your words have creative power. Words can give life into a situation or death. Yes. So you have to, I think one ways of dealing with trauma is to um, acknowledge that it did had happen in your life, and that you are not the victim of it, and that you should um, begin to tell yourself certain things, positive words, affirmations, whatever that will give you that peace, and understand that you should look to God, I say, and pray that God can continue to heal you and direct you in the right direction. And you also should feel like if you need counseling, you should acknowledge that I probably need professional help with that. Or if you find a group of network of people who have gone through something similar that you've gone through, you can connect with them, But you have to connect in a way of being confident and being secure that these people that you're dealing with is going to really help you and have your best interests at heart, and you can, feed off their energy and they feed off yours, and then you can begin to solve the problem, because we all have dealt with some trauma in our lives, and we all felt like, hey man, how I'm going to get through this. But I think that if we just begin to speak words into our life that are positive, that are not negative, begin to believe in ourselves, and really we understand that we were the victim and we were not the ones that caused the situation, but we can work through it and we can be healed from it. And trauma is like anything else. If you don't find a way to release it and get it out, it can cause you to respond in negative ways, which
it's gonna manifest.
Right, it's gonna manifest itself in a negative way, maybe in violence, maybe in just so many different things.
Or physically sometimes too.
Yeah, physically you hurting yourself, drug addiction, illness, right? Because the body responds to trauma, and if you allow negative trauma to overweigh your body, you could develop cancer or strokes or different things like that. So that's why it's very important to release that trauma out and get it out of your life, and so you can not have to suffer through physical ailments and through addiction and other things that might be detrimental to your life. So I think we as a community, Black community, we have gone through trauma, and I think it's time for us to really look for healing, among ourselves.
And then if you feel like, one of the assessments that I do with, like, I would say my clients or people that I talk to is like, you can, like, because some people don't know how to measure. They feel like, well, I'm doing okay because, on the monetary, or my family's good, so I'm good, and not really know how to judge. How you know that you're healed is really through your relationships with not only yourself but others as well.
Right.
If you are at a place where financially you're good and your family is good and you got a good network of friends, but you still have a mindset where it's like, well, I can't stand people, I hate people. If you have any of that type of mentality where it's like, oh, I can't stand people, or these people get on my nerves, or you still divided when it comes to, like, okay, this person and that person, this type of people, this type of, there's still some healing that needs to be done, because you can never take a characteristic and spread it out to everybody.
Right.
A lot of things, the way I see it is, it's kind of like everything is really a reflection on you. It's kind of like, take me for instance, okay? When I look at a person, I look at them as another part of myself.
Okay.
So it's just like, I feel like we're all God. You know, God created everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It don't matter what color, it don't matter what race, it don't matter what gender. God
Mhm.
created everybody.
Mhm.
So with saying that, I can't say that I love God, but I hate another human being.
Right.
So when we walking around and we talking about something, I can't stand this person, this, that, and third. Really, you're sitting here saying you can't stand. It's something within you that you don't have compassion for. That's telling
Mhm.
you this is where my compassion ends. This
Mm.
is where my grace ends. This is where my mercy ends for this individual. Because at the end of the day, when you're saying that for somebody else, you're saying that you have a limit to it.
Right.
You know? And so when I look at other people, I look at it like, you know, out of respect for God, principles over personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Out of respect for God, you know, God saw fit for you to wake up today.
Right.
God saw fit for you to be here.
Right.
You know, and so since God saw fit for you to be right here, and I can see you, out of my respect for God, I'm gonna treat you with the respect that God has and the love that God has for you. So
that's good.
You know,
I like that.
And you know what I'm saying, and
like
looking
that.
out and treating other people how we want to be treated. I don't care what religion you come from, it's in there. Treat people how you want to be treated.
Yeah.
Like love thy neighbor as thyself.
Right.
And that's the golden rule. So if you carry that spirit of, you know, I can't stand people or I hate people, then you're really not understanding the full picture of this person. We're all created by God. We are all a part of God, and that we need to treat each other like such. So when I'm looking at OG right now, I'm looking at this is basically like me, but coming from a whole different experience, a whole different perspective, a whole different way of life. So when I'm talking to him, I'm interested to know how he's doing on his journey.
Right.
As God, God's energy manifested into the now through this being.
Right.
You know? And I think when we develop a spiritual like consciousness instead of looking at everything in such a flat 3D superficial terms, then we can form a higher love that facilitates healing amongst us all. And usually how we feel about ourselves has a lot to say about like what's going on around us. Like if we hurt another person, we feel bad.
Right.
If you can't tell me, you can't tell me.
You're supposed to feel. I don't know. Some people, I don't know. This generation we living in now, people just ain't got no feeling about nothing.
Well,
you know, so,
that's numbness, but
normal people.
When we dig deep in there's some trauma there. But we talking about some, you know, normally adjusted people that, you know, most of the time when a sin, if we talk about sin is when you either hurt you or somebody else. If you ain't hurt you or nobody else, ain't a sin that you doing. Right or wrong.
Yeah.
Right or wrong.
Yeah.
And then when you talk about, you know, it's very challenging to be like, I killed 5 people today, and then feel like you a good person. Like you're not gonna.
You're
an
like evil person. That's not nice.
Even if you know what I'm saying. You're how you, and I'm saying that because it just goes to show like how you treat other people is how your self-image is gonna reflect back to you.
Right.
If you're treating other people well, you're gonna feel like you're a good person. If you treat other people poorly, you're gonna feel like, nah, I'm not such a good person.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's all how you treat people is very vital into how you're gonna feel about yourself. So a part of healing is really, it does, you know, people like self-love, but understand you love yourself by also loving others as well.
Right. You know, just like something came to mind to me was that, you know, like I say, life and death is in the power of the tongue. Of the tongue. So when you speak words, you're speaking life into a situation, or you can speak death with your negative words. And negative things happen more quickly than positive things. But the reason you speak positive things, because positive things produce good energy and cause good karma to come upon yourself and upon people. So if like Sister Jasmine was saying, if you feel like that, if you don't treat people the way you want to be treated, then you can't expect for people to look at you in a light and say that, hey, this person is good because they treat me the way I want to be treated. And that's why it's so important to look at people and treat them in a kind manner, because sometimes, we don't know what people are going through and this and that. And sometimes, like you say, it could be a little thing, a kind word, a good morning, hello, and how you doing? How's your day? I'm always constantly around a lot of different people, and in the kind of work that I do, and I get to meet people, and as you meet different people, you see them more on a regular basis, and so you begin to carry on a conversation. Well, how's your family? How's your children? How's everybody? How you doing today? And so as long as you try to keep positive energy around you, and just really give out that positive energy, you're not going to have time to receive anything negative, because you too much into giving out that positive energy and that positive word that's going to help change somebody and help them to develop and grow. And we all, as human beings, we're not perfect. We all have our flaws and everything like that. But when you recognize that you have certain flaws and you take accountability of it, then you're able to heal and to grow and to learn and develop into the person that God wants you to be.
I think a lot of times, if we could just get to the place as a society where we understand that listen, y'all, everybody has flaws. A lot of times if you are even the type of person that talks about somebody, or you can gossip about somebody, or just understand that it's the pot calling the kettle black. Just because, this person, has this issue, and your issue might be in a different, category. Y'all both got issues, and no issue is one bigger than the other. So at the end of the day, we have to get out of this culture of talking about one another, instead of like me pointing out like, hey, you can't do this, or I can do this. It's just like, okay, if somebody can play baseball and another person plays basketball, the person that plays basketball shouldn't be like, well, that's why I can play basketball and you don't know how to dribble a ball. And then you got the person that can play baseball, like, well, yeah, that's why I can swing and I can run this, that, and the third to bases, da, 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 and you can't. Versus coming together and saying, hey, how about you teach me how to play basketball, and I teach, and I teach you how to play baseball.
Yeah.
And then now we both know how to play two sports, versus me like being against you and trying to, your strengths and weaknesses like that. So I really feel like, as part of healing, you really have to just work on having compassion for other people, because what I realize is that the same compassion, if you lack compassion for yourself, you're going to lack compassion for other people as well. Right. If you hate yourself, you're going to hate other people as well. Right. If you find flaws in yourself that you can't get over, you're going to find flaws in other people that you can't get over as well. Everything really starts with you. So when people are out here preaching about self-love and stuff like that, it's like, love yourself, but a lot of people don't know what love is. I think people put a lot of complicated explanations on love. My simple phrase for what love is love is when you want to see something or someone grow to the highest extent that they could possibly be. You want them to be the best that they can be, whether that's with you or without you, period. That's what love is. And love is like, I'm not going to intervene in this person's development. So if I am a thing that's going to cause or hinder this person's growth for being the best outcome that they can be, then I'm willing to remove myself out of that picture. And that goes for self. So when we talk about self-love, that means when I'm loving myself, that means I want me to grow to be the best that I can be. And that means I'm willing to get rid of or add the necessary ingredients to get me to be the best that I can be. Period. And when you want that for yourself, you also cultivate and you learn how to want that for other people as well.
Wow. Woo. Wow.
That's a mouthful.
A mouthful. Yeah. I was just thinking as you was talking about that growth and development is a process that is a lifetime process. You never stop growing and developing. I believe that if you have a willingness to grow and develop, you'll always be able to see things ahead and not just be one-sided about a situation, because you're constantly growing in a way of being humble. Humility is very important for growth and development, because by being humble, you have a mindset that I can learn. I can and I think for myself, I've always my life is like I'm a student. I'm always looking to learn. I'm not looking to say, hey, I just arrived. I know this, and learning is not based on your age or your status. It's based on your humility to have the ability to receive and to accept and to acknowledge and begin to grow from that. And that's why I say I thank God for, at my point in my life, that I have become humble, wanting to learn, because it was a time I wasn't like that. So I'm glad that I just have reached a point mentally that I'm able to grow that way, and not to put my past behind me, to put trauma behind me, and not and was able to grow from my trauma, not allow it to be something negative in my life, but I turned that negative into a positive. And I'm telling you, in YouTube and across the world, wherever who hears the sound of my voice, you can grow into the person that you want to be. But you can only grow if you have a humble heart and mind and willingness to want to learn. So that's one of the things I tell people all the time. You have to be humble. You have to be willing to acknowledge your faults and your wrongdoing, and say, listen, something, I'm guilty of this. How can I make the change? And that's where the inner peace and the inner God inside you will allow you to see those things, and it will help you to change.
And seek wisdom, because wisdom is one of those things that can really bypass a lot of the bull crap in your life, because the way people think that they're in control, and a lot of people think that you're in the driver's seat. The reality is you can either get with the program, or life is going to beat you down so bad to the point you don't have a choice but to get with the program. But either way, reality is reality, which is another point that I like to bring up, because so many people talk about my truth, and like everybody can have their own truth, and it's all subjective, and it's all this, that, and the third. Listen, the laws of reality are the laws of reality, regardless of how you want to paint them in your mind, and then people have like this whole subjective, right and wrong is subjective, or it's relative. It's like, no, there's a right and there's a wrong.
Right.
When you're in tune, because the thing is this: if it doesn't work for the whole, then it's not right. If it doesn't work, if it it's like, okay, if everybody killed each other, could everybody survive? Well, no. So you know what? We shouldn't kill each other.
Right.
You know,
Right.
if we all loved each other, could we all survive? Yeah. So we should love each other. Or okay, if we all, anything that you want to think is bad, like rape, like if it has a detrimental if it leads to destruction, which is destroying and tearing apart and not growing and building together and togetherness and healthy and then that's how you can determine right from wrong. If it's productive to growth and efficiency and making things better, then you can deem that as good for the whole. And if it's destructive, if it's going to tear things apart, if it's going to divide, if there's going to be hurt, pain, things like that, trauma, then that, my friend, is negative. It's not good for the whole. I think that it's easy when we was like, well, this is what works for me. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, well, it's not about you. Life is never about you. You weren't put on this surface